Hey guys, David Giller here, and in this video I'm going to cover what you should do when a Salesforce user leaves the organization and we want to make sure they are no longer able to access the database. We want to make sure that we are no longer utilizing the license that we've purchased for that person and free up that license to now assign to a new employee when they come on board. This is a very common problem. This is so common that no matter how many times I post about it, and no matter how many times I share best practices on how to handle the situation, inevitably people screw it up. So let's get to the bottom of it. What happens when an employee leaves the organization? I'm going to use my little handy dandy whiteboard over here, and I'm going to start drawing a little bit, and I'll explain. So let's make believe we have an employee. So we've got our little person over here, and let's make believe this person is working on some lead records in Salesforce. So they have some leads. And then as they're working on those leads, they are logging the calls, the meetings, the to-dos, they're sending emails. So we have all sorts of activities associated with those leads created by this person or assigned to this person. Well, what happens when those leads actually get converted? So now we are talking about working with accounts and contacts, and hopefully they're successful enough that they're working on some opportunities. And this person, this employee, is now working on accounts, contacts, and opportunities. And hopefully they're also creating activities, logging their calls, their to-dos, their meetings, the follow-ups that they are expected to do associated with the people, the organizations, the deals that they're working on. So let's go here, and just to abbreviate this a little bit, I'm going to have all of these pointing to activities. Now in some organizations, you are also working with cases and maybe even campaigns. I'm going to stop there because for demonstration purposes, this is good enough. So this individual who is about to leave the organization, this individual is working with leads, working with accounts, working with contacts, working with opportunities, working with cases, working with campaigns, working with activities that are associated to all of these records all over the place. And by the way, in case you don't know, Salesforce, out of the box, will record. It will actually show it on the screen, unless your admin customizes the screen so it doesn't appear on the screen. It will automatically appear on the screen showing who created each record, who is the person that last modified each record, and which individual on the team the record is assigned to, whether it's the record owner, the contact owner, the lead owner, the account owner, the opportunity owner, or if it's an activity, who it's assigned to. So there could be one person. I might be creating activities in Salesforce and assigning it to someone else. So this person is actually referenced on every single one of these records, whether they created them or not. If they are assigned to this person, if this person modified those records, this person is associated to all of those records throughout the database. Now, in case you don't know, going on a little bit of a tangent here, Salesforce is what's called a relational database. What does that mean? That means that all of these records have a relationship in the database. They are linked to this person's user record in Salesforce. So what happens if, in theory, you were able to actually delete this record, which you cannot do in Salesforce? You cannot delete the user who left the organization. You can deactivate them so that they are no longer able to log into the system. You can deactivate them so that the license that they were using previously is now freed up, that you can assign it to someone else, but you cannot delete the record. Why? Because if you were to delete the record, then the database is going to show in terms of who owns all of these records, who was assigned all of these records, who last modified all of these records. If it was this dude, it's going to show nothing. And that's going to screw up everyone's data quality all over the place. So, in order to make sure when this person leaves the organization, let's go ahead and represent this as a red line. Let's make believe it's sort of like a brick wall. We're putting a wall between this person and everything in the database. In order to make sure that this individual is not able to access the database, in order to make sure that this person's user license is available for someone else to use in the organization, all you have to do, it's a little checkbox on the user record. Simply, it says activate. Simply click on it in order to unpopulate the record, to clear it out, that field clear out that field that says active, and boom, that person is no longer able to log into the database. That person's license is available for anyone else to use, and your data integrity is intact. It will still show, whether it's 2 weeks later, 2 months later, 2 years later, 10 years later, it will still show that this dude, whenever they worked for the company, they are the one who either created, modified, or was assigned any of these records. So you're going to have complete data integrity. That's how the system works. And that's how it was meant to work. Now, what is the huge problem that completely blows my mind? Because I see it happen all the time, and I see it happen in some very large organizations by people who I know are really smart and very technical, but I see this very, very common mistake. So now let's make believe we have someone else that wants to come into the organization. But instead of, I'll use my finger here, instead of deactivating the user, what they do is, and by the way, I've seen this done by people with job titles like COO, CIO, CEO, aside from Salesforce admins who just don't know better. Instead of deactivating this user, what they do is they just go ahead and replace first name, last name, email address of the prior person with the new employee. And you know what happens instantly when you do that? All of the prior records, all of them, that the other person worked on are now misrepresented. By doing this, you instantly create a data quality catastrophe. Because what you did was you just made an update on every single one of these records, that it's represented as if this person created these records, created the old phone call logs, the notes, the meetings, the to-dos, all of the opportunities. This is the person who last modified them. That's what happens because you just replaced, let's think about it technically. What did you do? You simply updated the name, first name, last name, email address, phone number, whatever, all of the things you updated. You updated the prior person's information with the new person's information, so the system is going to automatically display it as if this new employee is the same person as before. It's really the same record of a user. It's just he's got a new name, got a new email address, got a new phone number. So it's going to show all of the legacy data being represented as if this person who just started on the job today created all of these records years ago. Now, do you know what the experience is for this person when they log in and they look at, let's say, my leads, my accounts, my opportunities, my open tasks, and very often the person that is getting swapped for this other user is not even in the same department, does not even have the same role. A lot of times where I've seen this disaster happen, the prior person that had this user record was maybe a sales rep. Maybe let's make believe for the East Coast, an East Coast sales rep. And the new person that just got hired is a West Coast sales manager. They are not at all on the same level within the organization. They are not responsible for the same records whatsoever. In fact, they are looking at a whole lot of records, forget the fact that they never created them and then really should not be assigned to them. They are looking at records that they should not even be able to access, that have no relevance to the job that they have within the organization. Now, by the way, right now, I am working with a situation where one of my clients did this. And in that organization, they also have, pulling another color here, they also have Pardot. And the way it works with Pardot, in order to synchronize your users so that the user who's in Salesforce is also represented as the same user in Pardot, the prior individual, I'm purposely doing it in black over here, the prior individual, the prior employee that had this record is synced to this user record. So the user record in Salesforce is synced to the user record in Pardot. And all they did was update the name and email address, etc. over here, but they did not do it over here. So this employee who comes in first day on the job says, what the hell is all this crap that I see on my system? What are all of these reports and list views that are showing as my records where I have no clue what the heck it is, let alone it has no relevance to the job that I have within the organization. I see all kinds of functionality and all kinds of apps because of course they're getting the same permission sets and the same role and profile that the prior user had aside from the same records. They want to know, aside from all of that crap, I'm supposed to be able to use Pardot, and how come Pardot isn't working? So not only does Salesforce suck, and Salesforce is broken, but Pardot sucks too. And everything sucks here. So that's the experience of the brand new employee within the organization. So do me a favor. If you are ever faced with this kind of situation, where an employee who is using Salesforce leaves the organization, and then, so first of all, even before anyone else comes on board, the employee who is using Salesforce leaves the organization, the only appropriate action to do is to deactivate their user. By deactivating their user, they are no longer able to access the database. All of your data quality, the integrity of your data stays intact. It will still show as if that person did all of the things that they actually did or didn't do in Salesforce. All of the data will stay intact. Your user license for that employee is now freed up that you can assign to someone else. And then all you have to do, let's go back to my drawing over here, and I'll use purple again. So let's rewind. Let's make believe that we have over here the old legacy user who left the organization. Let's go ahead and redraw my red line over here to simulate as if it's a brick wall. So that person is blocked off from Salesforce as well as Pardot. They are no longer active in either one. And then all you have to do is go ahead and create a brand new user record. Brand new user record. And depending on the role and responsibilities of this person, depending on what team, what department they're on, depending on which records should be assigned to them, that's when you choose what type of role profile, permission sets, what type of records, what type of apps should be assigned to this person. So this person should be starting with a clean slate. And then you cherry pick based on whatever it is that's going on within the organization. You cherry pick which of these items from here, because I guarantee it's not going to be all opportunities. It's not going to be all contacts. It's not going to be all accounts. You have to cherry pick. You have to filter from within those which ones should get assigned to this new person. And by doing that, all of the data that this person created will still show that this person created it. And even if they were reassigned to this individual, it will show that now it's assigned to this person. So in other words, let's make believe for a minute. Some records were created and worked on by this individual, but then after this person came on, some of them were reassigned. It will still show that they were created by this individual. It will show all of the activities were still created by that individual who is no longer able to access the system, no longer working by the company. However, it is now assigned to this person, and then we can see that this person did or did not create any activities or opportunities or contacts associated to those records that were now assigned to them. So that is the appropriate way to do it. And by the way, if we're also talking about a situation where this person, the organization is using Pardot, and that individual is also expected to be using Pardot, then we simply go ahead and we create a contact for that individual in Pardot, and we set up the sync between the Salesforce user over here and the same individual's Pardot user over here in order to keep them in sync, and then everything is clean and nothing is screwed up, and your new employee over here is going to feel that the system works as expected. Isn't that awesome? Anyway, go ahead and let me know what you think. You can go ahead and drop me a note below. Let me know what you think about this issue. Let me know if you've experienced this issue. I am very curious to hear how you went about handling it, what the implications were. And I'll talk to you soon. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.